You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 34, February 18th, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey John, how's it going?
Pretty good. You?
I'm doing okay.
Yep.
It's been an interesting last 2 weeks. Lots of little things going on.
Busy?
No, I'm not going to do the joke. I ruined it. It had to be a natural surprise. That will mean something when we talk about what our topic is this week. So so the only real amazing, exciting thing that happened is I was working on this thing with a startup company. I'm sure I've mentioned on or off record. I get, because the OG podcast has been around for a long time, and it's in all the places. Whether I submitted it or not, there's lots of little, shady fly-by-night podcast directories out there.
Yeah.
I get contacted by all kinds of startups and marketing, email blasting, companies. Hey, we got these services. You apparently know nothing here. You need our services.
Yeah. Right.
A lot of those emails, those arrogant, kind of obnoxious emails. And every once in a while, I'll respond and say, hey, thanks for reaching out. By the way, I don't think I'm as stupid as your marketing email leads me to believe. I think you don't really understand. I think I'm pretty smart about this stuff. Probably could teach you things. That's my intention, but I never send those words. So I'm getting way off tangent. The point is that I get a lot of those things. And one of those was a company was like, hey, this is a new thing, and this is where growth is. And they started with the founder sent me a video, but it was a marketing blast email. It wasn't to me. And so I was like, okay, I'll check this out. That seems like an interesting thing. And I only went there because I agree with it. If you want your content to be in places where it's becoming wired in people's daily pattern, like your voice assistants, I will not say all the wake words, but like any kind of Amazon device, right, as an example, or Google device or Apple device, right? They're all have some kind of services. And Amazon's really ahead of the game where people can kind of plug in their own apps and into that voice assistant integration. And this company is trying to fill a gap with podcasts and other content mechanisms. So I reached out. I signed up for a trial to see, all right, I'm gonna give you something complicated and see how well you do. And they did okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they lit it up. So if you have a Amazon voice device, I'm going to say that so I don't, run off all the wake words. And they're going to apparently, I think Google hasn't enabled it yet, but it's coming. They also fill the gap for Google's thing, and Facebook's got something. And when Apple gets around to it, I'm sure the same kind of thing. So anyhow, they offer one solution for all that stuff and allows you to hook into your podcast. And it is a custom consulting service that you pay for. And they've turned on Attack generation now. So you can say, wake word, enable Attack generation, or go into your Alexa app.
Oh.
Hopefully that didn't kill any wake words.
We should trigger all of them now.
You can go ahead and enable the Amazon Alexa skill. So that was the point. And you can enable it, and then you can kind of interact and search. Now, the problem is the way I titled the podcasts, because I knew back in the day, our podcasts show up on everybody's fly-by-night directory. And so I don't want to just put the titles because sometimes these directories advertise it like it's their content. And I've kind of defeated that by putting complete data information back to where our site is or where our hosting stuff is, historically. So it kind of fudges up the searching on the voice assistant a little bit, but it handles it pretty well. You could throw an anime topic in there, and I played with it a little bit, and it finds it pretty quickly. So it was pretty good considering how difficult of a content problem that the podcast is, given its 663 or 62 shows. So doing pretty well. I think that's pretty neat. and I'm gonna do some more.
They're gonna put at some point somebody's gonna figure out something where they annotate the entire episode of some sort of podcast.
I had one of those people reach out to me, and I said I'm not interested, and then they said, well, we're doing this for free, and I said no thank you. But I've been thinking about it, and I'm thinking going back and saying, okay, maybe I will have you do that, because our podcast has been around so long. And but again, I get lots of these things, and some of them are real noxious, and every once in a while I will respond, and I get a person, and that adds on to my maybe think about it list more than the people that it goes into a void and they never ever 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 return your response.
Yeah, those are worst.
Yeah, and there's I could receive, I don't know, receive a good 30 of them a month. And every once in a while, I will something of note. Now, I feel bad that I shut the one person down, but maybe that's that kind of transcription mechanism site. It might be good for us, right? Or it might be good for, again, the bigger beast, right? Where they talk about something. And this Otaku's life, I don't think I need that. I don't think anyone needs that.
Yeah.
The shows are so short, and I'm not really talking about anything vital. So, there's nothing I think really important there where I need to ask somebody to do that.
You know why? I think it might be an interesting thing, because as soon as you have like transcribed versions of the entire episode, that will be able to be searched faster, and you can add
sure. I think there's value there, yeah. And
the episode about that thingy.
The other piece of this is that, well, why are they giving it away for free? And I understand they're probably so early up in the rounds of startup stuff that they're trying to build. We got customers, right? Yeah. And so I responded, and this person says, well, this is free, and I say, well, thank you anyways. I don't think we're interested. And I wasn't rude about it. I just said, no, I don't think we're interested, but thank you. And so I never know how they get to us. But they get to me sometimes. So anyhow, that long tangent, whatever, 10 minutes of that, it was basically just to say that the exciting thing is something I've been working on and was excited about like months ago. At this point, finally was able to get through the release gate with that big company to their voice assistant.
Do you have...
And I was able to play with it in my own house, and it works pretty well given some consideration of how difficult a problem the content description issues are with the show.
Is it something that's only going to work with Amazon?
No, their whole point of their service is to offer they offer the same content integration with Facebook chat, with Amazon, with Google when it's ready. They're just sort of waiting. They say coming soon. They're ready. They're waiting for Google. I see the slug that they already have. And Apple, who knows if they'll ever get around to, getting up to speed. Yeah. I don't think, there's such a walled garden. Who knows? And then they also in their marketing release on the website talk about texting. I guess at some point when they're complete, you should be able to text and get your search, so you could text whatever and it would tell you and give you the link to a show. There's some voice stuff as well, and some email things. So they're not trying to do one thing. They're trying to bridge the gap between your content and all the accessibility things where people are in an intimate space, and they just, everyone lives their life differently, right? Yeah. Some people live by Snapchat or Instagram.
Texting, so naughty.
Right. But if you're a big national public radio, right, you might need something like that. There might be a need for it. So you never know. And I think what they're doing is they're trying to fill a gap. And so the only kind of highlight for me was, and of course I hadn't had a release yet, but this guy out of New York, he's a startup, and his email was like, hey, thousands of people are switching over to our services with our better analytics and our better this and our better hosting and and we are a lot less in price. And I said, I put out the great thank you for reaching out. I don't think we're interested at this time, but thank you anyways. Blah blah blah. Real, just whatever polite message it was, and the CEO responded back because it's part of the marketing blast. His actual email is on it, and he goes, "Oh well, I think we're better than insert your host." Kind of like a cocky but friendly response. And I said, great, thank you. We're just not interested in moving right now, but thank you anyways. Also, you never know the success of these places. I go and I move my whole historical infrastructure over to a new host.
Yeah.
And then they fail, and I'm more screwed than they are, right?
Yep. That's why you host it yourself.
Well, there's some disadvantages to that as well. But the point that I was getting at is there was some small window of communication between me and him. And I said, hey, by the way, do you guys do this, and this, and this? And it wasn't like I was defending my host. I was just saying, hey, by the way, these are some reasons I would not move. And do you guys do this, and this? And he goes, oh, yes, yeah, we do that. I go, oh, then you should have probably put that on your website because none of that information is being mentioned. Oh, also, by the way, if you really want to get an edge and show how unique of a hoster you are, you should probably start doing some voice integration, provisioning. Here's a company that that I'm employing to do this for my show. And so this is where people are going next. And if you want to be there, this will help you be a unique hoster where all the other hosters are not.
That's not the same person as the one with the voice integration.
No, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
And I led them over to that company, and this person said, oh, well, we just added flash briefing. Like he took the note, right? He was just trying to sell me like they're so much better than everybody else, but they're giving me the same marketing message everybody is doing. Yeah. Great, our host, we will charge you $1 less than your current hoster. Yeah. We will charge you $2 less. We'll charge you $3 less, and we're better, right? Okay, yeah. Show me how you're better. What are you doing they're not, right? None of those hosters are doing what this voice integration consulting company is doing, right? I do believe, I didn't have to hear anyone tell me. I have these devices. I understand how you integrate that in your life and how useful they are. And if you can start sticking your podcasts and your content or your blog in there where people can integrate that into their morning or integrate that when they get home, it becomes fun and then it becomes useful at the same time. And so that's where voice is going. And, it's not the place you only want to be, but it's a place you also want to be. So, yeah. All right, now it's 10 minutes of 45 minutes, 13 minutes of a conversation piece about it. I don't know, was that useful conversation? Was that insightful? Maybe not to you.
Maybe
you don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't like the integration part.
You don't like the always listening devices.
Yeah, I don't have any of them. So,
yeah.
Also because they're not available here. So, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think in time. I was pretty excited about it when I thought it was going to launch weeks ago. And then I was less excited about it when it finally became a thing, but I'm still excited about it. So,
speaking of launches.
Yes, launches. Let's launch into a topic. Alan, shut up. Okay.
Yep. So, did you watch the Falcon Heavy launch?
I didn't watch it live, but I did watch it after the fact. I mean, I was at work, right? And I watched it when I got home. I watched it. I did not watch all 4 hours of Starman floating around in space, but I did skip through it.
There's somebody made an animated GIF of Daft Punk music with the guy in the car just bobbing his head, and then his head.
The best one I saw.
His hand goes like this, like the little rock sign.
The best cool one that I saw was a meme on Twitter. Someone had a picture of Starman, and he was just Starman, just like static pose, right? Because that's what the mannequin is doing. And there was a cop on the other side of the window, right? I mean, on because
Okay.
there's no top on it, with like giving him a ticket.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and my little caption for Fred's was like, "Sir, do you know how fast you were going?"
Yeah, too bad there's no engine, no motors in that anymore.
Oh, I'm sure they probably
Took them
drained
out,
it of all
probably.
liquids and cleaned it up, and
Well, there's
like anything.
well, it's a car. It's an electric car, so there's not much.
Right.
I think there's.
Well,
I don't know if the
there might
batteries
be
are still in
some.
there.
There's got to be some like oiling for axles and stuff like that. I would think for the motors, right? There'd be some liquids in the motors.
Yeah.
I mean, they would remove the batteries, of course, right? Unless they're using those batteries to power the footage. It's not. I am sure by this point the batteries are probably dead.
Yeah,
for broadcasting.
and I heard that the thing is going to be taken out by solar winds.
I keep hearing conflicted conversations about where it's going. I made the assumption, is it going to Mars? And then I heard from
Well, they
a
were
news
shooting.
broadcast.
They were shooting from Mars, and they're gonna try to. They were trying to put it in an orbit around Mars and Earth.
Yeah.
But they overshot a little bit, so now he's going into the asteroid belt.
Right. So I
Whoops.
I heard someone tell me it was asteroid, but I also heard that they were intending to maybe throw it towards the sun.
Yeah.
So, but I guess it's. I mean, it doesn't. They don't probably have any actual. They don't have any thrusters on it, right?
No, because it's just a dummy load. So
Right.
It's
a heavy dummy load.
It's a heavy dummy.
It is. It is very indeed. That is true. So.
Yeah. Well, he's got the best advertisement ever for this, for his car and for his company.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
I will say the most interesting thing for me was on the timeline, right? So I don't know if it's listed anymore, but the 4-hour video is unlisted. I mean, I tagged it, and I could probably make a Polymatic for it. But regardless of that, what you could see is if you go over the YouTube timeline, the Seek timeline, and you get that little thumbnail preview, and you can rush, as long as you keep your mouse pretty consistent, you can rush through it without interruption and see these little, kind of scrubbing it forward or backwards as he's, basically orbiting or rotating. The other thing is, though, if you notice, so I heard from an Elon Musk interview, if you notice, there's a tiny little, like, Matchbox Tesla Roadster with the Starman in it.
Yeah.
On the dash somewhere. And then there's also the console where it says "Don't panic."
Yep.
I love it. It's awesome.
So I shortened the link for the thing, the Starman Daft Punk thing, and it's Polymatic link /FN for that. It's the animated version of Starman doing his dance to Daft
now
Punk
I have
music.
to look at it.
What?
So now I have to look at it. Yeah, there it is. I see it. Yeah, all right. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's got music too, but let's not play that.
Oh, I didn't hear any at all. It's fine. It's all good. Yeah. I mean, look, there's gonna be lots of memes for it, and it's pretty fun. But what was most amazing about it is that they not only they only achieved it, right? But they proved that they could scale up this solution and get the science right.
Yeah.
So the next huge step forward is when they get to the BFR. They can do this with the BFR.
The big forking rocket.
Yeah. If they can get to the BFR and do the same thing, then we're golden, right? Then the next milestone will be something larger than that, which I'm sure would be a planet killer. So
yeah, he's the villain type.
Could get us to the point of starting to establish things or send payloads to places, whether they land successfully on the planet or not without damage. That's a different story. But send resources to things, and then also maybe send people, and also maybe provide footprints in other things like the moon, let's say they could be a different launch pad, right, for something larger. So that's really the next state of it. But the science and the work that they did for the Falcon Heavy is just stacking, but it's also amazing what they did there. And I saw some video of Elon Musk. He was probably like freaking out the whole time because you could see he went outside of the mission control and he was watching the rocket launch, and all his concerns were starting to roll away as he saw the successes happening. And in his mind, the science and everything he knows that could be the 1,000 million problems were just falling away off the list as he got to those moments, those little milestones in his head. And then when it came down, it was not only epic, it worked precisely as they hoped it would. Yeah. That epic photo of the two rockets coming down in perfect exact sequence and the parallel picture of it, were just amazing.
Yeah. Did you see that video with the where they were, I think they were shooting from a balcony or something, and you could see it from the side, so you could hear the sound, how very loud that was. Mm-hmm. It's like it was, yeah.
Well, Destin did a video on the sonic booms, right? So there's 3 sonic booms that they provide to make sure that they can come down, successfully to reduce the, sort of give them some pillowing to land successfully. But he was, he did that video where he's like, but there were 5. I heard 5. There should be 6, right? Did you hear that? Did you watch that video?
No, I haven't seen that yet. But,
okay, so
I do know that the last one, the core thing, didn't land because they ran out of ignition fuel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And was that supposed to though?
No, it was supposed to land, but
really?
they lost it.
Okay. So I didn't know about that. I was just focused on the landing of the booster stage.
So I was watching Twitter when the launch was happening, and I also watched the launch live, so that was fun. Mm-hmm. But then as soon as the third core, the middle core didn't land, or the landing footage cut out really fast. Mm-hmm. So there were people like, pray for the central core, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I really don't like about what's going on. When you watch tweets by Elon Musk, if you see his tweets and then you see people replying with things like really fanatical crap, it's like, what the hell is wrong with these people? I mean, he's just a nerd. Let him be. Don't bug him.
Yeah.
He must have like a filter on his Twitter or something, because all the crazies come out. Like with that, he had the press conference where he was talking about Mars and how things were going to happen, what his time schedule for that was, and then all these crazies came out, asked stupid questions. I'm like, yeah, okay, guys, go away. I just don't understand why people do that. Like, they're fascinated by what he does, and then put their fantasies on top of that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a problem with anything. You do a podcast, you have an audience, you meet them. Sometimes they're real level-headed. Sometimes they have like a personal contract with you that you know nothing about. They have a personal relationship in their head about, oh, well, you guys talked about this, so you must really love it like I do. Probably not. Probably not. It's probably not what you imagine. I've never had one of those people that I ran into. And usually when, look, in the later years, I've been staffing at Otakon, so I'm not usually, in the new facility, there's not a lot of back hallways to hide in. But in the old facility, in the old event space, there was. And it wasn't because I was hiding from people. It's just there were a lot of people in the concourse, and I couldn't get from point A to point G very quickly. So I would go through in and out of little like wormholes and pop out in 5 minutes on the other end of the convention space, because I could walk fast from one end to the other very quickly and get the thing I needed done. inside a big old dark room where the event's running, go do help or whatever, fix out the thing, go back and, go back to where I was hiding as my home base. And so I was never going out in the concourse. And the few times I go out there, people would stop me and say, "Are you Ellen?" And I go, "Yeah, hi." But usually I'm in the middle of like rushing to taking care of something. And so,
but I think that
I've had some good interactions.
Yeah, but I think that your celebrity versus Elon Musk's celebrity is kind of...
they're not even... Mine doesn't
not
exist.
even close.
Mine doesn't even exist. No, and I don't have... I personally, or any of the shows, have any real actual presence in social media. We have a Twitter account. I occasionally Twitter something directly aside from all the automation, like, hey, new show's out, junk, right? But I don't have any footprint there, right? That's not where the attention is.
Also, you're not a $1 billion company.
I am not a billion. I'm not a trillionaire. I'm not a billionaire, and I'm not doing anything that is like considered to be world affecting. Yeah. So,
anyway, speaking of something that's also not world affecting, I got an update on my Ono printer. And apparently 2 of the validation steps have been completed, 2 more to go. Let's hope they at some point deliver a printer. That would be really nice after
that screws up your phone.
2.5 years.
So, oh no, it's going to screw my phone up.
Yeah.
What will I do? Well, I guess I'll have to buy another Apple 10.
So they may not be a scam after all. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
oh no.
I have a bunch of those things that are, the Kickstarter fails, the Indiegogo fails, whatever. After like 3-4 years, there's one of them might actually ship the thing. I think they're in shipment hell right now, but I think they're actually going to ship the thing. Then I had another one where they finally got around to shipping my little thing, and it was the competitor's version that came out in like days after they announced their Kickstarter are a lot better. So, and then I have a couple that are in the middle of China is on holiday, New Year, insert some other reason, hell.
Excuse, yeah.
Can't ship. Oh, Canada's got their thing. Europe has got their thing. U.S., you got to wait. Typically, it's usually the opposite. It's typically the U.S. gets it first. And in this case, per that comment, this is from a company that's in Germany, right? I believe they make products. They're out of Germany. And so they're, Canada got their shipment. Europe got their shipment. U.S. has not. So maybe in March I'll get it. So that's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for all the work we get China to make it because of the economy of scale, oftentimes just like 3 months of the year, nothing will happen. So you gotta work around that assumption that you'll have problems. That's the only way to set your projection dates correctly, I think, at this point.
Did you see the new game from the guys from Exploding Kittens? You've Got Crabs.
You Got Crabs. I ordered it. Yep. I got my message and I said I'm ordering that.
Yeah.
Well, because I often will get these things before a lot of my friends hear about it. But then by the time we actually are all in a room in a place where we sit down and play one of these games, they've heard about it, right? And
they've got almost $633,000. So
I just happened to notice an email somewhere the morning this week, right? Stupid. And then I was like, oh, what's it? Oh, yeah, all right, I'll order that. And I did. And then
did you get the imitation crab expansion?
I
got get the giant claws.
I don't know because I don't know. I think I got whatever the extras. I didn't need to get Exploding Kitten extras, right? Because they were trying to also sell that in. I think I put 2 things on my on the shopping cart.
So you get giant hands, crab claws.
Do you really?
Yeah.
And
if you get one of those cards, then one of the special cards, then you have to wear the hands.
Oh. Well, the thing is, as absurd as this is, I'm okay with it because of the fact that they're bears versus babies, was actually pretty for the like one moment I had an opportunity to play it with some people. It seemed to be work out to be pretty fun. So in them I trust. Same thing with Cards Against Humanity group, except that I'm so far behind in all the special expansion packs on that thing. I've lost any inertia on that. But also, anytime I go anywhere, everyone's got all the Cards Against Humanity's everything. So I don't need to be the one who's bringing that stuff. But I would probably be the one who's bringing Bears vs. Babies or Exploding Kittens or You Got Crabs, right? Because somebody didn't hear about a thing because they didn't know about it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It looks like a fun game. Maybe I'll get it, but it takes 4 people to play, so it's
yeah. Well, that's one of those things where I can get these games and I have a stack of these things, but I can never play them with anyone because we're not sitting around playing these games, right? They want to play Artemis, or the people that are into playing games like this and will actually have fun. I only see them a couple times a year. Or a pocket of like all of us at Otakon, and then we're all burned out, but we want to play a game, kind of scenario, which is more rare than not.
So I finished Discovery last Tuesday because it came on Netflix on Monday, and I was tired on Monday, so I watched the last episode. It was very interesting, lots of fun.
So, thinking about the first episode and getting to this point.
Oh, I'm so rewatching this. Yes.
How do you feel about this show?
So the first 2 episodes, I thought, why did we spend so much time on the backstory of this character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the origin story, right?
Yeah.
It didn't have to be this, right?
Right.
Over the show, I realized that this is more of a Fringe type series where there's a narrative across this season, right? So there's more of a you see that in Fringe. There's some other shows that do this.
There's an arc.
There's a giant arc across.
It's episodic instead of just scenario for the week, right? Which is what our TNG and even the old classic Star Trek was. There was no real point to it.
You had that in Enterprise too. Enterprise and DS9 had arcs over the seasons. Now, for Next Generation, didn't have that much. Right. There was a giant arc over Voyager, but that was also very episodic.
They were trying to copy what Babylon 5 did successfully, right? So Babylon 5's production value, in contrast, is not the same.
Who were trying to copy this?
They were trying to be episodic. And, Babylon 5 was more like the way like anime stories are laid out. They have a beginning, middle, and end. And then end. Permanent end. Done, 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 done. Unless it's a really super popular, then everyone wants to make money out of it. Then they'll create a new start for a new thing, right?
Yeah.
And in the U.S., the show TV format is create a situational something, lead you along, have lots of weak storylines, lead you along, and just keep you milking the money and the attention and the whole experience. And they keep doing this as a whole thread line to just keep it in motion and satisfy your basic needs and never satisfy your closure needs, right? That's typical U.S. problem. But here, this is more sits in that sort of episodic arc where everything had a tie-in, even if we didn't understand it early on.
Okay. Well, for my, what I like about this is that there is an arc and then there is a closure to the part. I don't know where they're going to go from here. I have no idea. There were some nice surprises in this. Something I as soon as now we're going to talk a little bit about spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, just skip forward a couple of minutes. In the as soon as they went to the mirror universe, I thought, okay, so Lorca is from the mirror universe.
Right, got that.
I was like, yep,
makes sense.
That's what's happening. And yeah, I even though I did realize this beforehand, or at least as soon as it happened, I know. Oh, okay, so that's what's going on. It was still a nice surprise. I think that the ending could have been better. Like, it felt rushed, the last part.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the last episode's like, oh yeah, we solved everything. Done. And
But would you say they still left us hanging a little bit?
well, I mean, if you can spoil this, the end it ends with them meeting the Enterprise and hearing a distress call from Captain Pike.
Right.
So now you know when this is.
Right.
It's just that I think they want to make a second season, and they're going to make a second season. I think it's a good one.
They're already filming a second season, that I know.
Yeah, I just don't know if the other big spoiler person. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Right. So I think right, they were doing a modern day Star Trek. They were,
and they succeeded. It's
right,
much better than Enterprise or
right. It's different. It was grittier. It had more arcs. It had more destination points to get to compared to the day-to-day. Here's a thing. Let me do some technical babble, and then I solved it in the last 2 minutes of the show. Next week, Data decides to do something interesting.
He gets
Same
locked
format.
up on the holodeck.
Picard has some past problem. Solved all our problems. 2 minutes is two-parter. Solve some more problems. Now, I mean, I love that stuff. That was the bag of potato chips I was looking forward to every week. The low murmur from the ship, right? You know, it's very comforting. You just, in DS9 had some. It wasn't bad. It was different, and that's what caught my interest. It was different characters, different context.
I haven't actually ever seen the entire series of DS9. I've seen the first 2 seasons, and I was like, yeah, no.
Right. So that's where I was holding on that it was going to be something different. But then you get into season 3, and then from that point on, oh boy, is that series awesome. Now, that's what the summary of my thought from back then still is. I've not gone back to rewatch DS9 in a long time.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch it.
Somewhere in season 3, towards the end of season 3, you got through season 3, it starts to really build into something interesting and awesome, definitely for its time.
It's the Myanmar, right?
Yeah. And so it becomes interesting. And it's not just let's insert a placeholder that we can use for conflict at our convenience. Insert Q, right? And so it was doing something more, right? Voyager was similar kind of thing, except it was in the formula, but different context. And I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed Voyager. Enterprise.
Well, I did like Voyager until... from the start when they got 7 of 9. As soon as the Borg started showing up, that was interesting. Yeah. Then it got interesting. Before that, the what was it? The Kazon? Was the Kazon?
Kazon, yeah.
The guys with the rock heads.
Yeah.
The imitation Klingons. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's just right. So I mean, again, this is like falling out of your comfort zone. But then you got into Enterprise, and Enterprise is just being different, trying to have some arcs, and they did some interesting things at times. And the thing that was always holding on for me was, well, when are they going to answer the question about transporters? When are they going to answer about the questions about using force field instead of whatever polarized plating and stuff like that? And so they never really did that, and they were doing wishful thinking thoughts instead of building some more purpose. And then the network just didn't have any patience for it because the ratings weren't there. We had to have something that broke our expectations enough that we got pissed off about it for something like Discovery to come back and be successful.
Well, they've only been doing series that are prequels so far. since they shut down when DS9 went off the air and Voyager 2. Right, so the only things we've gotten is prequels. So we got Enterprise,
Right.
which they canceled.
Yep.
And then now they have Discovery, which I'd hope they don't cancel. But I hope they do like 3 or 4 seasons and then just end the story. Right? Go do something else instead of continuing for like 7 seasons.
You got to keep in mind the behavior of that network. That television network is one of the American networks, and so they're going to keep perpetuating a money profit maker as long as possible, unless they can create other revenue streams where they can switch off of. So we will likely have as much as we want, whether the story deserves it or not.
Well, if they can go, and I think that for now they've not gone completely insane with things, although they did go to another universe, so that was kind of interesting. They haven't really, kept one-upping themselves every single episode. So it's been, they have a story to tell. That's the story they told this season, and they are not making it. Oh yeah, they don't have the technology to reset everything every episode. So
Right.
They don't have to make a reason why the Bassard collectors are not working, or the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, the defenders, whatever crap thing they thought up. So I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they continue with that, and then they can maybe go for a couple of seasons. But I think I want to see more of other things. Maybe they can go on another exploration thing, right? So they currently only do the current galaxy. Maybe they can go somewhere else.
Right, and I think given the technology, the sport drive technology, I think there's opportunity there, and they showed their first hand of that, tie it into a storyline in this first season. My concerns were, okay, we got it, Michael Burnham, got it, storyline, got it. You keep shoving this in our face. I got it, we got it. Okay, move on. Okay, you're moving on. Oh, so you tell that she's so perfect, but now you're showing us flaws, so you're trying to down her value. What are you doing here? You're shifting streams for a little bit. I'm a little confused. What are you doing? Oh, now you're really getting into something. Okay, and jump the shark to another dimension. A mirror dimension where they jump back and then they connect all the dots, even though we didn't know they were important, right? And that's kind of what they did. Now, if they're going to repeat that in season 2, I'm going to be tired of it, right? Okay. Real quick. If they're going to repeat themselves and not actually do something, look, they did something interesting. That was cool. All right, now keep doing something interesting that makes sense to do. They at least qualified that whole path. That, again, just sort of, I was going through what my streamline was with this. And we'll see if they do a great job in season 2. I know a lot of the early interviews that I saw, there's a lot of the actors and actresses were very excited about what was coming in season 2.
Well, I hope they do a little bit more exploring, that they now
maybe,
have taken care of that war.
You're right, and I think that's going to be our storyline focus, is the war. Right, how to put it back to zero that falls in line with our very comfortable, perfect, utopian Star Trek future that we've watched all the other TV shows from years ago. And so I think that's the alignment pattern that they're trying to lean an open question about. And we'll see if it gets there.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, I don't have a Polymatic link, but Nerdist Podcast had Damon Lindelof. He was one of the, basically the head writer for Lost, which was a popular TV show here. I've never seen it. I heard lots of crazy things about it. But that was like a phenomenon that caught a lot of attention. And he also contributed some to the at least one of the new Star Trek movies, right? And he's a good writer on his own. He's done some other things that have done fairly well. But he talks about in that interview or that conversation about the extension of Lost still being on the air because the network refused to let it be canceled or closed or completed. And that goes back to my point that I had earlier, which I've seen the same pattern and reinforced, is that sometimes the writers know that the story needs to come to a closure, but our machine in the U.S. refuses to let that happen.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's an opportunity to do good things, and sometimes that's a problem. And he certainly admits that there are parts of that were a problem for him.
Yeah.
And so that's why it ran so long. And so I agree with you. I hope they don't milk it to its final end of being a tiring problem, right? But I have wishful thinking on seeing where they might go with it, and I think that's where I'm at with it. They have certainly jumped the shark at least once, and I had tension to how are you wasting my time on this subject?
Okay.
And they closed it up okay enough. I just don't know what about season 2 is going to look like, but I have hope for it.
From what I saw in the series, they planned the series well, so they were always intending to go here. From what I can see,
yeah.
So I'm gonna rewatch the entire series, the first season, and see if that's actually true.
Yeah, I will probably give it a marathon at some point prior to or months prior to when season 2 is coming out, so I can have sort of a fresh understanding of where they were going, how they were going, where they went, to see how they're all correlated and to see if that's going to add any value. I think at this point, though, except for the captain, they've disconnected themselves from their past now. I'm sure that will come in and be littered somewhere in the mid to 3/4 into second season. There'll be a tie back. There'll be a tie-in. As long as they don't do it too early,
certain
we should be
captain
okay.
might come back or something.
Whatever, something, right? But for now, I hope they don't ruin. I hope they don't try to milk an opportunity out of that. Let's leave it alone for a long while so we forget. Then milk a moment, right? Don't make it the center focus of season 2. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyhow, we've
I watched a movie called A Silent Voice recently.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. It's an anime movie about a deaf girl getting bullied, and then the bully gets bullied. So that's good.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. It's a movie, right?
Yeah, it's about 2 hours. It's very very intense. So if you watch it, yeah.
Where'd you see it?
I bought the DVD.
Oh, okay, got you. What do you know? When it was made? What year?
2016, 2017.
Okay.
Ish. I have the DVD here. I can look at it.
Is it more of like Kick-Ass? Is it more horror? Is it more gory? What kind of?
So it's more of a drama.
Okay.
So it's about a girl who's deaf. She comes into a school about midway through a year, and she's introduced. And she introduces herself as, I'm deaf. I can't hear anything, right, so you have to write in this notebook your whatever you want to say to me, and I'll write back and tell you what I want to tell you. And then the kids in the school turn on her and bully her until she leaves the school, and then the bully gets bullied. Yeah, but I don't want to spoil too much, but. It's a very, very heavy movie. Yeah. And
you liked it?
I liked it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Then I'll make a note to see. There's a different name.
Could be a good OG episode.
Maybe. I'll have to bring it up to the group over here. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah,
it's in the same. It's not in the same vein, but they do. People do say, hey. If you like Your Name, you might like A Silent Voice. So that's why I watched this one. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go watch it.
The thing about it is
animation is good.
often people, at least on OG, that we will talk about. Oh, I saw this thing this week. It was in the art house theaters. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's about this, and it's not a perfect movie. It's like first impression kind of thing. And then, if it doesn't make an actual like active note in my head about it, we move on. So I don't know. Maybe I'll bring that up. I hadn't heard of it. I might have heard someone talk about it, but I hadn't been mindful of it since then. So
I
yeah,
didn't.
cool.
I didn't. I bought the DVD, and it comes with a English version and a Japanese version. I turned on the Japanese version with the English subtitles
Right. Okay.
because during the watching of your name, I tried to watch the English version, and I was so horrified that I stopped the movie, and I was like, okay, I'll restart.
When I compare my impressions of my experience with dubs from the 90s, I agree with you all throughout to most of mid 2000s. But a lot of them have gotten better. However,
These are horrible.
my default configuration is subtitled with the original language, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's a language that annoys the heck out of me because of like whatever, then I put it to one where it's palatable to me, right? So that's typically what my default behavior is. Keep it close to original and then subtitles. So with that said, I can't dismiss your argument.
Just go watch it. I think it's
Yeah.
on. I don't know. I don't know if it's on Crunchyroll, but I don't think they do movies.
I don't know. Crunchyroll picks up a lot of things. I will say most of them are TV shows, though. I think if you're going to get... a lot of other people are starting to play in the pond with anime. You get Netflix getting into business, movie or not, they don't really care. And Amazon also had anime strike. They finally dissolved that. But you still have to be an Amazon Prime member to have access to those that material.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope that some point. Okay, I don't like watching anime anymore because there's so much.
Right.
So
I
much of
understand.
it, and most of it's really bad.
understand.
There's some exceptions
yeah.
like Azumanga Daioh, stuff like that, right? So
Right, sure.
So I've watched those, and they were funny.
When they
Very
were
funny.
more original for their time and not copied or duplicated 1,000 times over, right? I agree with that. And again, if it wasn't for the show, I wouldn't watch as much anime as I see. But it's also a temporary process for me. I go in, I watch, I look at it more analytically and critically than I do for personal watching.
Just for enjoyment.
Right. Yeah, if I'm doing it for an enjoyment, I'm doing it in a well of all of you leave me alone. I'm watching this on my own. I don't want to watch it with a group of people because a group of people for me with anime can really disrupt for me.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. When we were having our anime club thing, it was a social thing tacked on with also watching anime all together, right? And so that's what that was about. And yeah, so yeah, not such the case anymore for me. There are shows that I definitely want to watch for enjoyment, but at this point, some of those shows have like hundreds of episodes. And so that's a time argument in my head.
Yeah, I did start a few years back. I did try to catch up with Bleach.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, not gonna happen.
I mean, I really like Space Brothers. That was good. I was enjoying that. But again, I got 36 episodes in, and there's like another 60 or so for me to watch.
Yeah, I totally understand. Some of those shows they suffer from the same problem that we just talked about with Discovery.
I heard though from a person, at least on the OG podcast, said no, it didn't. And he really loved it, and that it did well, did justice by us, even at that length. But again, it's just either you got to own it physically because streaming services will not license things forever. or you got to have time. You got to have both somewhere, some combination thereof. And for me, that's always a challenge. So there are always other things that will hit a more current priority, right? To make or do something before I sit down to enjoy something for myself privately, which is so little not the case anymore. I don't get that opportunity very much. So,
okay, so we got some fun stuff.
We do. You do.
Yeah.
You got something.
Rich photographer versus poor photographer. There's a photographer that goes and explains the difference between different types of flashes, and he shows you how to do really cheap photography, get good photography with poor resources.
Well, let me qualify a little bit here. He shows you how to use cheap photographic accessories and expensive accessories and shows you the results. But what I don't know if maybe I missed this detail. What he is not telling you is he's using a megapixel, like a 40 or 50 megapixel sensor on a $50,000 Hasselblad. So all pictures he takes from it are going to be perfectly good looking. Yeah. And so he is setting himself up for the absolute most optimal success with good or bad accessories. Now, with that said, good video, watch it, right? Shows you that you don't need to spend $2 million on a thing to get a good picture, right? Okay. You don't have to be so stuck in your fanboyism for photography and spend about as much as it takes to put a deposit down on a Tesla. You don't need to do that. You can get good pictures with lesser accessories, but still to the argument, having a good sensor and having good optics are also always important. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm never going to spend. I say this now. Who knows if I ever? I never plan to spend $10,000 on a camera body despite its lenses, right? At best, you'll get a few thousand out of me if I ever get to that day. When I get to that day, it's a when. It's not a if, right? I spent near $1,000 on my camera body, another $600 or something. So I probably spent maybe under $2,000, but a couple $1,000 on some photography equipment over years. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's worthy of showing that just because it's cheap does not mean it's crap. But he clearly found some really inexpensive, good inexpensive accessories to use.
So Polymatic link/FA for that.
Yeah, sorry, had to qualify. Thought it was important detail to know. So since last John and I talked, Elon Musk did something again. And he was bored, so they made flamethrowers. And this guy decided to build his own. I'm not saying you should. I'm not condoning you should build your own, but I thought it was an interesting video. Polymatic.com/FE.
Polymatic.link/FE.
What did I say? Oh, com.
.com.
Right. Polymatic.link.fe.
/FE. Yeah.
/FE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again with SpaceX. How does SpaceX get all these amazing shots? Polymatic link/F8 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
they were good shots. You should watch those videos if you look. If you're interested in this stuff, you've probably already seen the video, so I don't need to sell anything to you. So John sent me a link to this. I already see this, and at this point, it's too cute to ignore. Polymatic.link/FF. I am not saying anything more than that. It's creepy cute.
Yep. and it's a number 25 trending. So it's
oh, is it?
Yeah, really, it's being shared all over the place.
When I saw the first one, which is the link that you sent me, I just subscribed. I knew it was going to be awesome. So turns out it's still pretty awesome.
Yeah. So next one is Polymatic link/F9. I Kill Giants. There's a new movie coming out, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't.
Did you see the poster for this?
I didn't see anything for this, and I was like, "Oh, it's a kids movie, but this looks good."
It might not be a kids movie.
Oh, okay. Well, Polymatic.link/F9. So, yeah, I, this is looks like a movie worth seeing. I was enjoying the trailer.
Yeah, I saw the poster first on Reddit this week,
Mm-hmm.
where she has
Okay.
like a giant hammer. It's actually pretty cool.
So The Verge had an article highlighting something that Intel was doing as it's called Project Vaunt with the T. Polymatic.link/FG. Um, it's not Google Glass. It's something different, but it falls in the realm of thinking about putting AR in comfortable places.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth kind of noting as a good concept and prototype. One of the things I think is the technology note that I've been following as a trend is there has been technology that is focusing on projecting to your retina instead of projecting to a physical screen or plastic or acrylic that reflects light into your eye. It literally just figures out the depth from its projection point to your retina and then adjusts its focus, and then it's like perfect focus privately in your eye. And Project Vaunt is employing technology that Intel built, this prototyping
Yeah.
inside this solution. I think it's neat. I don't know where that would go, but I think this is a healthy approach going forward. Yeah, and maybe one day we will see augmented reality coming into our eyes through whether they're contacts or probably not contacts. I mean, putting a projection, a little laser in your eye
I
inside of
think
contacts
at
could be
some point,
difficult.
if we're looking at this type of technology, I don't think we're gonna be using um, projectors into eyes or lasers into eyes. I think we're gonna skip that step at some point and just gonna hook up straight to
Right.
the brain. I don't think that hooking up to our senses is gonna be the best option for this.
Right, sure, I understand. And there has been work. I follow it occasionally. There has been work people where they've been trying to transcode the visual cortex so that they can put sensors in your eye for, let's say, someone who's blind, and replace the retinas and then do the transcoding from those things into the signaling that our visual cortex wants or uses. And then at best, it's a staticky black and white, very low, incredibly low resolution, not even Game Boy quality,
Well,
original Game Boy quality resolution, really low resolution stuff. But there is work going into that area. And when they make breakthroughs, then maybe, to your point, there will be something like that. But at this point in time, there really just isn't.
well, the same way that people can be taught to use fake arms with like
Right.
motors inside them, they hook them up to nerves.
Mm-hmm.
So people can use that and learn to use that, and I think that at some point we're going to just use some nerve from on your arm to signal your brain, and your brain can learn to interpret that as visual things or whatever. Brains are pretty good at learning new things, even if you're
Cyborgs. We're going to become cyborgs. We're going to be Google
if I
boards.
have to sacrifice one little place on my arm where I don't have feeling, I just have a little sensor there or something that I can learn to get input from something.
What happens if they take whichever eye is the
Yeah,
least
that's why I
least
said
quality one and replace it, stick something in your actual eye?
I don't think that we're
How do you
gonna
feel about
do that. I
No, I
think
don't think
that
most people would
replacing
either.
eyes, or now the idea of replacing an eye because it's damaged, that might be an idea, because we know
Right.
how to communicate with the brain.
But not because you want to read your Facebook chat in your vision.
Yeah, but the problem is that everybody's brain has a different type of operating
Right.
system.
We
When you look at
are
it,
wired
everybody
differently.
learns it differently.
Yeah.
So there's no protocol to talk
Right.
to with, but I think that learning how to communicate with something through nerves, I think we can do that
In time.
in time.
In time.
Okay, so I've been binging Captain Disillusion.
Yeah.
He was on H3H3 recently on a
Oh, really?
podcast. Yeah, and was very interesting. Very good watch. So he did a video about Back to the Future. He did two-parter, but the stuff that they did in Back to the Future. Polymatic.media/FB for that.
All right. So trailers. There's lots of actually good trailers coming out.
So many.
More or less teasers, but there's a Deadpool teaser. It's not safe for work. Polymatic.link/FH. There's just lots of cursing in it. No nudity or anything like that.
Well,
But you know, look, if I say Deadpool trailer, you could just assume it's not safe for work.
those action figures.
Yeah. Yep. Cable.
Yep.
What
But
do you mean?
there's lots of movies coming out.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Black Panther came out. There's going to be
Incredibles 2 coming.
oh, I'm not gonna watch that one.
I remember thinking Incredibles at the time was the most incredible Pixar movie ever. At the time, it was just so well done. And so, you know, it's sort of a love-lost thing where I want to see it, you know, I want to see Incredibles 2. And it's taken them like 10 years to get around to actually getting to this point, I think.
But the Avengers Infinity War is coming out. Then there's going to be Ready Player One. This is going to come out next month.
Solo's going to come out this year, I think.
Yeah, in May. And then Deadpool in May.
Hmm.
Have you seen Black Panther yet?
Good year for movies.
Have you seen Black Panther yet?
I've not. Nope.
I have.
Not.
It was good. It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah. I heard it was so good of a movie that people were complaining about that one person complained or said a negative thing about it, and it had a 99% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And one person, one critic, got crapped all over it.
Well, there's trolls right now that are making up stories about people being beaten up because they're white and went to the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really sad.
Here in the U.S., people watch movies despite that, right? There's going to be a bazillion teenagers of all kinds of races that don't care.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a bad neighborhood. Don't go there. Don't go to that movie theater if any of it is actually true. Who knows?
Man.
So yeah, that was Deadpool. Teaser trailer. Not safe for work. Polymatic.link/FH.
So I've got another video, how the Earth breathes. You can see the CO2 usage. CO2 being absorbed into the forests in the Northern Hemisphere. Polymatic.link/FC for that.
Yeah, I want to say something about I'm not.
Go ahead.
No, it is. It's a worthy thing. Look, all I have to say is weather's changing, and everyone wants to complain about it. It just is. Just is.
Yep.
Get over it. It is. You're going to die in it if you don't help change it. That's it. So, okay, so moving on to me. This was really just for you, and I suspect you won't care. 2 cents, you'll have something critical to say about it. That's fine.
I've already seen this.
3D printing metal, Polymatic.link/FI, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
I already followed this guy, so yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your feeling on it? I mean, I can't expect this stuff to be perfect. You're not going to get this in your home anytime soon where it's anything reliable, I would suspect.
The problem with having an oven to make this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or furnace.
Yeah, that's going to be a pain.
But it could be good for industrial uses, right?
Yeah.
And that could be very useful. I know, I always forget the company, but there's a company where they did something where they visited a company that was building like lattices, and they were talking about their new whatever, and they build an industry thing for auto part manufacturers, and they do have various patent things where they do stuff with like various flexible, strong alloys and metals and stuff like that through their very proprietary, you can't buy it systems. Yeah. And so there is use cases of this actually being successful and happening actually in your car. Prototyping a lot faster than waiting 2 years to build a little little gear that you need now, not 2 years later, right,
Yeah.
to solve a problem. So
the Thomas Landerer did a good video about that. He did the printers from like 200 to 1 million euros or dollars or whatever.
And before MakerBot Industries, there was a company who bought up MakerBot, they had 3D printers. They had refrigerator size things. Maybe were good, just not the cost of $1,000, right? So there had been industry work done in this area for a long while. I think because of the consumer interest and so many startup companies, a lot more rapid growth has been happening there compared to the companies that owned the market on 3D printing solutions, right? So, I mean, the competition, I think, was healthy in this area, and I'm glad that it existed or does exist. So,
okay, so we got some music. There is...
You have some music.
Yep. First one, Fonat Never, Polymatic.media/F6. I like this. I really like this song. Oh,
yeah, it wasn't bad. The other one that you're going to share, I liked, actually. So I'll probably look into this artist later today.
I think I shared something of theirs before, but...
I think it probably didn't hit me right, because it does look like something that made sense, but I kind of liked the song when I was listening to it last night. So speaking of another artist that has been sort of on the cusp of me to have a conversation about, I listen to her music. I like it. I also like when she crossover and does like a feature with another artist. And so this one happened to be something. There's a video for you to look at. This is Chelsea Cutler, and she does a thing with Quincy 92. Anyhow, this is Polymatic.link/FJ. I really like this song. Is the music video something like extraordinary? No. They didn't just take like an iPhone and made a video. They did more than that. But to that point, I really like the song. And I don't know if, is this something you like, John? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
This is not in my...
I don't think you like
this,
that. I think that sort of hip-hop like style sound is more of a U.S. sound. I think it's probably not your thing. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. And I'm starting to enjoy both of those artists together. So, and separately at the same time. So
okay, so got Embers, Doubt House, Polymatic link/F7 for that. I don't know how to describe this. It's more electronic, that's for sure.
It is, yeah. What does this sound like? This sounds like some of the remix stuff that I listen to for some of these pop artists. Yeah. Well, that was Polymatic.link/F7.
Yeah, so most of the stuff that I share usually are electronic stuff because that's my thing.
Yeah. I enjoyed that song. So I'll look into the artist a little bit more specifically and see if I get a high enough saying more yeses I like this than nots. Then I'll probably start just buy everything. This is another artist that I don't know. She fits in this sort of like, I don't know what she's doing. I like this one song. I bought this, came from Spotify, I think, and I bought one of her songs. This is not the clean version. This is a not safe for work version. It's Olivia O'Brien. R.I.P. The video is interesting, given what she's singing about. I don't know. I would have tied that up as a music video, but this is what they did. Polymatic.link/FK. I've listened to some of the other songs, and I don't hate the songs, but whatever she's trying to project as who she is, and I don't know, I've never actually seen any interviews about her, but whatever she's trying to project of like the personality she is, like the person you're going to identify with, I don't know if I'm personally on board with that. I'm on board with the music. I get the message of the stuff that it's coming from, but I don't know if it's fake or if it's real, and that's the thing. It feels like it's a marketing thing of faking a thing so
Yeah.
that you can hit a demographic right and make sales. And that's the feeling I get from it. But maybe she is from the thing, from the whatever, and she is the thing that she's projecting. And so that seems to show up and be represented in the few music videos that she's made. Would you feel about the song despite the video?
Actually, I didn't watch the video. I just put
Okay.
the song on in the back, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's not. Again,
Right.
it's probably not my thing. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's not something I turn the radio off for.
right.
So the
It
first
was
one
a thing.
definitely is.
Yeah, it's something that came up through Spotify. So, that's how I discover, put air quotes
Yeah.
around that.
So
Spotify force fed it to me.
So last episode you shared Phoebe
Ryan.
Phoebe Ryan. That was good.
Yeah.
I listened to that song. She did a remake of 2 different songs.
Mm-hmm.
Do You
mashup?
and Ignition or something?
Hmm?
She made like a remix or something. It was pretty good. So
Yeah.
I blame you for that song stuck in my head for about 2 weeks.
What about B. Miller? Did you?
Yeah, I
like
didn't
B.
like
Miller?
that. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah. Okay.
There is another one. I don't know if I've shared this before. I think I have, but Submotion Orchestra. There's a. I think it's their previous album, and it's so good. I just had that on repeat for last week. I didn't share that because I think I've shared their music before, so I'm just not gonna repeat myself for that.
Right.
That was,
I try not to do that.
Yeah.
I think most of these pop artists that I share, I think you probably don't like them as a pop artist, but I think you probably like them when they're mashed up with like another artist who does a remix.
Yeah, no,
They're
it's
being
not.
crossed over with a remixer. I think you're more likely to be interested in that than you are interested directly as them as an artist.
No, I don't think so. It's more of a I think that the patterns people fall in the U.S. in the U.S. songs, it's different, which can be good. And there's also a lot of let's say garbage floating around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
there's lots of repeats of things, trying to imitate other people, and
right. I wouldn't take the kinds of things I'm interested as typical U.S. person because I have eclectic interests, right?
Yeah.
It ranges from J-pop artists that are doing screamy, punky sound all the way down to like a Phoebe Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Or La Garland, who is a little of everything.
Yeah.
She hasn't done any like super amazing remixes because she hasn't been in the business of releasing things, like record labels do. I know she's going to be releasing some new stuff soon, but the point that I'm making is, my interests are from eclectic and indie into, yes, Katy Perry on occasion, right?
I think everybody has Katy Perry on occasion on their list.
I don't own a single Britney Spears album, but I don't hate the music when I hear it. I actually, same thing with Taylor Swift, but I end up finding that I prefer people's covers more than the original song from these pop artists. So I don't know.
Well, I like it usually when artists are more experimenting. So if they're doing something weird or
I like them when they're more representing themselves as them as a person.
yeah.
Right? There's no marketing machine. Let me tell you who I think I am. I'm Jenny from the block, but I'm not actually from the block. I'm from a white, rich suburban neighborhood. Like when it's a marketing machine thing, okay, whether the music is good or not, and then you find out their name is on the writing, but their name is just like it's just there for consultancy, right? Someone else wrote it, someone else produced it, and they're just the performing artist. And then they get to be taking claim for all the things and make cash, right? And that's the marketing. That's a record company machine promoting a person with some talents, but not all the right talents into a format to make money. Now, that is not the case, sadly. I can't argue this case for Taylor Swift or Katy Perry, right? Because they can pick up instruments and play the things and do the stuff that they write. They own their whole food chain,
Yeah.
Like they own the whole thing. That's not just why they're a powerhouse. They are a powerhouse because they have the talents, and then they're also superstar, right? But your Justin Bieber, I don't know. He probably plays guitar now, but he probably didn't when he was a YouTuber, right? So, and again, don't pick on me for Bieber. I'm just picking as an example of someone who's popular, but probably isn't a complete actual artist, just a performer, right? Like Britney Spears as an example.
So I've got another book thing. There is a new book in the Expeditionary Force series called Zero Hour, the continuation, and it's been pretty good so far. So I've finished it, and I hope that there's going to be a new book soon, because I kind of want to know what happens next.
Okay, cool.
That's Polymatic./FL.
So you mentioned I don't know what you mentioned on mic or off mic about what was that Netflix series, something Altered Carbon?
Altered Carbon, yeah.
Yeah. So did you verify everything?
Yep.
Did you? Okay.
Right after the last recording, I just watched it and I was like, "Yep, let's go watch it."
How it was good, right?
I finished it in one go.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I have not watched it yet, and it was getting advertised, and I said some comment right to my roommate about it, and I think he marathoned everything. It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet, so just curious to see if it held up to your expectations.
Yeah, it did. I did watch some other stuff. What was the other thing I watched? I watched the new Cloverfield.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the first movie, so whatever
you don't
other
bother.
movies and
Right. So what they did is the movie was already finished, from what I heard. So the movie was already finished, and then they reshot some scenes. Yeah. So they put the Cloverfield parts in there. So they mentioned Cloverfield effect or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what the name of it is.
Okay. So apparently it was first named different. It had a different name, and then they redid some parts of it, and then they released it as a Cloverfield movie. Yeah. Now, first Cloverfield movie was good. I like that. It's a found footage type thing. Was pretty good.
Yeah, I know that was the popular thing, and it was an Abrams version of it, and everyone was in the, oh my God, I went and saw this movie for 3 hours, and it didn't answer a single question. It was the best thing ever, right?
It is the best thing ever.
That was like the pattern of what was popular at the time, and everyone was making movies like that. And then I saw Cloverfield, and I go, huh. Yeah, it's falling in that same well, except it's just made by Abrams. And Abrams wasn't like a household name yet. Yeah. He was starting to be. He wasn't the name. Like he is today. And so I was like, it's going to waste my time, and I'm going to be pissed off about it.
If you want to watch something good, go watch Dirk Gently.
Okay.
It's really enjoyable, very funny, weird, but funny, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It's another. What was that guy's name? As an author, he died. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay, Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable, very weird.
My whole rant about Cloverfield was that I pretty quickly assessed that it was going to be a movie I would not like because I don't have the patience for BS. As the premise for the movie.
Well,
and
Cloverfield...
that's why I don't watch a lot of horror movies, because I can figure out the plot pretty quickly, and then I'm bored, and then it's the occasional "can you scare me" is the challenge, and I just don't want to waste even 90 minutes on stuff like that. And so, don't get me wrong, there are horror movies that will scare me. That isn't a challenge. I'm just saying that this is typically the kind of things I don't like, time wasters. So, and then other people verified, oh, it's a great movie, but no, you wouldn't like it, right? And so I never watched it. And that's why I was just like, oh, this thing. Okay, cool marketing thing for them. Hope it goes well. But for me, I was like, I'm not going to watch it. I wasn't invested in any of the other. I know there was one Cloverfield movie. I thought there was another one.
There's two movies. There's 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is good. I liked it. It's not really related to the other movies. And then this one, this movie is where it was tacked on, so it's not really related. And the first movie was actually pretty good. I really like the first movie. It's more of a survival thing, so it's not meant to explain anything. It's just people trying to survive something horrible, and that's
I
it.
think that's also why it was tuned out with something like Lost.
Yeah, it isn't even lost. It's just survival, right? So it's people trying to survive an attack by something big on
Right,
their
I got
city.
you.
So there's a subtext of like there's a story between two people that fell out of love, and then something happens. Um, the and there's lots of gore in it. That's also
Right,
good.
yeah, and that's a thing I just wouldn't interest me. So,
Yeah.
but it was a thing that happened. I heard a whole bunch of excitement about it, and I've heard nothing since then about it other than us having this conversation. But I mean, obviously, I think it's not a sell you need to make. If someone is in a Cloverfield, or has seen it, liked any of the anything that came out from it, then I think they've already seen it.
Yeah. Well, it's different movies every time, so
Yeah,
they're gonna try something different.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope that there's gonna be some good stuff on Netflix soon, because most of the stuff they put on there, this original stuff, it's like the thing that failed that the movie studios wanted to get rid of, and then they rebranded it a little bit and then put it on Netflix. So they better come up with something good. So they have The Expanse here, so that's good. Just
Yeah,
that there's
that must be coming back soon.
I hope so.
Let me look. I got my little secret app here that's got things in it. Let's see what The Expanse says about it.
March, April, maybe.
The Expanse just says continuing. They don't have any. Oh, they have one listing for, and they don't even have a date on it.
Yeah.
They have a listing for the third season. They just don't have a number on it. Yeah.
Well, the book series is good, and they released a new book last year, so.
Mm-hmm.
And with that's going to be yeah. I don't know how they're going to do that with this series. Yeah. They cut forward 30 years in the latest book, so that's going to be
the propensity of a TV network is not to follow the story, just establish an interest.
Yeah, I don't think that The Expanse is a bit of an exception on that, I think, from what I've seen so far. They've actually stuck quite close to the source material, so it's good.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope it stays fresh and exciting. So before we leave you all, I think we should come up with some ideas of what we think that Elon Musk is going to do next in his boredom, in between many epic projects. So
you know that there is a Twitter person called Bored Elon Musk. You hear about
really?
that? So funny.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out.
There's a guy called Bored Elon Musk. This is just Bored Elon Musk on Twitter. And he has stuff like tweets that he posts are: roses are red, violets are blue. They're just a simulation, and so are you. Other inventions: doorknobs that set off EMPs when turned by robots.
Oh, that'd be pretty good. Yeah. They have doorknobs now that look at you. They're called Ring.
They're not doorknobs. They're doorbells.
Or doorbells. That's right. Yeah, but they do have. The people did try to do with the doorknobs. They're all bad solutions. Ring might be a good solution, but I don't know.
The Purge, except instead of one day a year of lawlessness, there will be one day a year of balanced and well-researched public policy debate. I kind of like that one.
Oh, you can only hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chewable vitamins that have 5% of the dosage, so you can eat them like fruit snacks.
Well, then you know what happens. People will eat them too much, and then they'll overdose on vitamins, and then vitamins will be a black market drug.
Yeah. Okay.
So you don't want that.
So, Alan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter. CHAESS, that's my last name.
You can find me on Twitter as WebDevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. I switched over to Google for your domain to something hosted, so that's probably going to be better. And you can find all the links for this episode on Polymatic.show 34, so 34 at the end. The music in this episode is by Say Uns, which you can find at Polymatic.link/ek. Our Twitter is at @ThePolymatic. The website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.